Here we go. There's no place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be than here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be than here in your love. Here in your love. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Just set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. I want more. 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 Won't you pour it out? I want more. I want more. I want more. I want more. Won't you pour it out? 'Cause there's no place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be than here in your love. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this guitar challenge. And so the first 4 weeks are going to be for free. Any of you that are already students of mine, it's for free. And so I'm really excited to make that offer to my students. What the goal for this is going to be is to prepare us to do a 1 hour set of worship. So we're ready to go as soon as the next wave of the revival hits us and our family and our church and our community. I promise you this, at the center of it will be a culture of worship. And one of my great heroes for exemplifying this, where we can see this, is the great King David. And so David was anointed as king, but it took time before the kingdom was given to him. And when he finally was brought to power, a lot of people that were around him had a lot of different ideas about what we can do now. We've waited for this. We waited for this moment where we had the chance, where it was our say, where we got to, take the land that we wanted to take and be the kingdom that we wanted to be. And David said, we're not doing any of that. David said, we're going to build kingdom around the worship of God's presence. And so this is how I know that worship is going to be the center of the next wave, the next move, because it always is. This is the Father's heart. So you can see all the things that are wrong in the world, all the problems the world has. What's God's response? To release worship in our hearts so that we can more and more connect with His heart, which then pours out all the resources that we need. So what's the Father's response? Is a culture of worship. And one place where we can see this, and this is a joyful worship, and one place where it verifies this joyful worship is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 56, verse 7. It says, I will make them joyful in my house of prayer. So what's awesome is the joy that you'll see on your face as you grow in this culture of worship, and the joy that you see on the faces of worshipers as they're brought more and more into this. This is not a joy that is artificial. It's not a joy that's manufactured. It's a joy that's the fruit of engaging with the Father. He says, I will do it. So our joy is not what we do for Him. It's what He's doing for us. He's already given it to us, the finished work of the cross. It's already accomplished. We're learning how to say yes to it. We're learning how to engage with His heart. So my vision is for us to be formed and ready to go as worship leaders. Now, as worship leaders, just a baseline start is the 1 hour worship session. And one of the places where Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he says, "Can you not watch with me for an hour?" So God can accomplish so much in an hour, but we want to design our worship to be able to have enough structure that other musicians and the people that we're leading can get on board and follow us. We don't want to just lose people. So we need to have enough structure that people can follow us, but also enough flow that we can follow the Holy Spirit. So this set of worship is designed to have both the structure and the flow. I've also designed this set of this type of worship. It's more an approach. It's not about set songs, although we will look at set songs. More specifically than the songs, though, is this flow. And some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the circle of fifths. And I just want to share a graphic here of the circle of fifths. And let's see, there's our Facebook Live. Hello, everybody at Facebook. Welcome. And so here's a picture of the circle of fifths. And I like it because it has a very Lord of the Rings style to it. And it says there, at the dawn of time, at the dawn of the fifth age of man, a ring of power was created for the bards and for the troubadours. One ring used as a tool, one ring to show them, one ring as a circle of fifths and their relative minors beside them. And so this is somebody's creativity, and I love it. It speaks to me. I see that as the tree of life in the center of there. And the tree of life is an image of oneness with God, which is at the center of every worship experience. Music theory and music history would be much more fun and interesting if it was written by J.R. Tolkien. So that's the idea there. And welcome, Veronica, I think is who that is coming in the room now. Okay, so that's our circle of fifths. But I want to tell you what's happening on the circle of fifths. And this is why in music, there are only 12 notes. Every key only has 12 notes. Even on this guitar with all these frets, there are only 12 notes that just repeat over and over again. And if there are 12 notes, that means there are 12 keys. But check this out. Every key is made up of the same 12 notes, just arranged in a different order. And so this 12, one of the ways that we can organize these 12 keys for these 12 notes is the image of a clock. So picture, we're all familiar, well, at least from the generation I come from, we're familiar with looking at clocks. Veronica, you may not remember what a clock looks like, but you can ask your mom to get a picture for you. So the clock, how many numbers are on the clock? 12. So those give us our 12 notes, our 12 keys. And you may know, Amy, I know with your experience from singing, you may know that there are different places in our vocal range. So we'll talk about and sometimes a singer will come under the misconception that they can only sing in particular keys, and that's not true, because every key has the same notes in it. It's just arranged differently. So every singer can sing in every key. And what we want to do is learn to develop those different parts of our voices. So as we move from the first key on the circle of fifths to the second key, it's actually, it's in one way, it's the most similar key. So the first jump, for example, would be from C to G. When you move from a song in the key of C to a song in the key of G, the key of C and the key of G actually share all notes in common except one. So in one way, it's the most similar. But it's also the most different because it's the biggest jump. You couldn't be further, G couldn't be further away from C if it wanted to. So isn't this fascinating that it's simultaneously in range, it's the most different, but in the makeup of the key, it's the most similar. And so we're going to learn how to use that flow from one fifth to the next fifth to the next fifth to the next fifth, and we're going to continually move through these. It's going to be an effortless door to move through because there's only going to be one note different. Change one note, you're in a new key. Change one note, you're in the next key of fifths. Change one note, you're in the next key. So it's something to be so effortless, but it's going to be jumping to opposites all around, which is going to move us through the different parts of our voice, and you're going to hear your voice open up in different ways. And so this first key that we're going to dial into is going to be the key of C. That's where we're going to start our journey. And for today, well, I want to lay a foundation because all of this is going to happen over scales. And so I'm going to give you a scale, and this scale is the way I play this scale, the way I teach it to you is not going to be the way that you see it in most books. I'm going to teach it in a different way, and there's a reason for that. Because the fretboard is the same notes repeating over and over again, that means there are crazy patterns that appear over and over again on the fretboard. And I'm going to arrange this content so that you can start to see those patterns. Patterns are power because they enable you to predict what's going to happen next. The secret is you need to know where the pattern breaks down and there's where you need to make the adjustment. I'm going to teach you both. I'm going to teach you the powerful patterns that you'll be able to predict what happens next. I'm also going to show you the places. Get ready for the break here. Get ready for the change here. Get ready for what happens there. I'll hit both sides for you. But so that's why I'm going to give you a different shape to a scale than what you would see in most books. So the scale, because our first key is the key of C, our scale is going to be played with the index finger on the index finger, third fret of the A string, middle finger, fifth fret, pinky, seventh fret. So play for me, I'll watch you play 1, 5, 7. That's the name of those frets. Now, with those first 3 notes, remember the key of C, it travels from C to C. In between C to C, there are 12 notes, but we're only going to highlight 7 of those notes. So already of the 7, we've already got 3. Now we're going to move to the next 3. You take that same pattern, same fingers, same frets, just move to the next string. It looks exactly the same. So now you're on the D string, 3 with your index finger, 5 with your middle finger, pinky on the 7th fret. All right, so now what I'd like you to do is to play through those first 6 notes. And I'm watching. Amy, if you could adjust your camera just a little bit so I can see your fretboard. And I'm not sure if it's Shay behind the Flynn household there, but yeah, I know you know this, brother. So maybe it's Mary too. All right. So those first 6 notes. Remember, we said even though between C to C there's 12 notes, all 12 notes are included. We're only going to highlight to know the scale. You only need to know 7 notes. We've already got 6 down. Because that pattern's there, you're never going to forget what notes are in that C scale. What's also cool, and I'll tell you this, and this will make more sense in a future time, but that pattern is not just true for the C scale, it's true for all 12 keys, all 12 major scales. So you've just learned 12 for the price of 1 right there. So that's going to repeat. That's going to be one of those patterns that repeats over and over again. Now, Amy, I just watching there, just if you could watch your fingering. Index, middle, ring, index. index finger. So index finger, middle finger. Yep, middle finger. That's it. And then ring. I'm sorry, haha, I said ring finger. I meant pinky. That's the one I think you were correct on. Index finger, middle finger, pinky. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Veronica, how's that going for you down there? Can I see yours? Index finger on the 3rd fret of the A. And then your pinky, your middle finger is going to go on the 5th fret. And then your pinky's out on the 7th fret. How's that going for you, Gavin? Can I see your 3, 5, 7? That's it, Gavin. You got it. Maria, you hiding your hands there. There you go. So index finger on 3, middle finger on 5, and ring finger on 7. And then you move from the A string to the D string and you do that same thing. So Amy, I'm watching you now. Index finger on 3, middle finger on 5, ring finger on 7. Awesome. Okay, now, once again, so that's the first 6 notes of the scale. And how many of you realize you're never going to forget that pattern? You can use the dots to remind you. All right, now with these 6 notes, before we look at the last 2 notes, okay, the 7th note and then it goes to the octave, the 8th note. Before we look at that, we're going to do another exercise. There's a rule that I have for guitar that you're never, ever allowed to count frets. If you are caught counting frets, you will have to do push-ups. You can ask Gavin about it. Only 10. But here's the rule for never having to count frets. If you memorize 3, 5, 7, 9, can everybody put your left hand up and count with me? 3, 5, 7, 9. Give me a little nudge on those fingers. 3, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, there you go. 3, 5, 7, 9. Those are your dots here on the board. 3, 5, 7, 9. So you can see them right away. And this is why I started counting with the pinky. 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, there's one more that you have to memorize. This is the outlier. There's always, remember, you got the pattern, then you have the exception. The exception is 12. So 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. So Amy, why don't you come on and let me hear you say 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. Make sure you got it. Unmute yourself there.
3, 5, 7, 9, 12.
Okay, good. And work on syncing that up with those fingers. Do you have a question?
I do. My
Yeah.
pinky is 3, my middle is 5.
No, right here, I just mean it right in order. 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. I'm just trying to get it. Yeah.
Got 3, 5, 7, 9, 12.
Awesome. Veronica, your turn. Let me hear you say it.
3, 5, 7, 9, 12.
All right, awesome. Maria, let me hear you say it.
3, 5, 7, 9, 12.
Yeah, amazing. Now, with that memorized, watch how fast you can go. I'm going to say one of those numbers and I want you to point right to that fret. You're not allowed to count frets. You have to memorize 3. If I say 5, 5, 3, 7, 3, 9, 3, 12. All right, so now I'm going to quiz you. Amy, point to 3. Everybody do it. 5, 3, 7, 3, 5, 3, 7. That's 5. There you go. 9, 3. All right, so can you see how you can practice this exercise on your own, or you can have somebody else quiz you on it? But you want to get really, really fast at doing this. So let's do it again. Veronica, we'll quiz you on this. 3, And everybody follow along with your own guitars. 3, 5, 3, faster, 7, 3, 9, 3, 7, 5, 12, 3, 7. So good. All right, now here's the next step. That takes care of, so whenever I say the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, you don't have to count. You know right where 3 is. You know that you know that you know where 3 is. It's always going to be in the same place. Does everybody get that? If you get that, can I see a hand? Yeah, you got that. All right, yeah, got it. All right, now, the exception to that is the even numbers. Now, please pay attention here. I'm going to give you a rule for the even numbers that I want you to, there's a number of ways you can do this. I'm going to ask you to do it the same way every time. When I say 4, I want you to go to the odd number just below it and say +1. So the formula is always going to be the same, 3 + 1. If I say 6, the formula is going to be exactly the same, 5 + 1. If I say 2, 1 + 1. If I say 8, 7 + 1. If that makes sense to you, let me see a thumbs up. Yeah? Okay, excellent. So now I'm going to ask you to, Gavin, come on, let me take your mute off there, Gavin, and I'm going to quiz you.
It got
Point to 4 and tell me how you got there. And you guys all practice this as well.
went to 3 and I added 1.
All right, point to 6,
I went to 5, I added 1.
8,
I went to 7 and -1.
no.
Sorry, 7 and added 1.
Yeah, but Gavin, you're right. There is only one exception to the rule, and that's if I say point to 11, you get to say, what do you do then, Veronica?
You just do 12 minus 1.
Yep, exactly right. So that's the only one we're allowed to do -1. Okay, so with that rule, this is going to make so much conversation between you and other guitarists so much simpler. The real estate of this fretboard, it's like putting a stake in the ground. This is all your real estate. This all belongs to you. Whenever you feel like you're getting disorientated in the middle land, like this is what I'm clear down here and I'm clear up here around the 12th fret. But when I get in here, like between 7 and 9, I get so confused so quickly. Take a deep breath, just do my 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, and literally take a second to do it, and then do your even numbers, 4, 3 + 1, 6, 5 + 1, 8, 7 + 1, and just re-anchor that, and that way you'll stay fresh on the changes. Here's why I put that extra time in. Index, everybody now, index finger, A string, 3rd fret. Who's there first? Very good. Middle finger, 5th fret, A string. Yes, very good. Ring finger, 7th fret, A string. Do you see how, I said ring finger again, I mean pinky. Yeah. Keeping me honest, Amy, thank you. All right, so do you see the way 3, 5, 7, now that's even more rock solid for you guys. And then when you get to the D string, once again, 3, 5, 7, same fingering. Veronica, let me see it nice and solid. 3, 5, 7, index, middle, pinky. Okay, middle finger, 5th fret, D string, Veronica. Don't count frets. I know it's tempting. Remember, you know where 5 is. Now, pinky, 7th fret. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, excellent. The reason I invested all that in the first 6 notes, where the pattern is strong, is get ready for the pattern buster. The next note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it breaks pattern. Rather than being on the dot, rather than being a 3 or 5, it's a 4. But you guys got the formula for 4. Go to 3 and add 1. Okay, so now, yeah, you got it. Went to 3, added 1. Excellent, Amy. And so, and now we've got all 7 notes. And then the last thing we need to do is resolve it to the octave. So, and it's just a half step higher. So you land on that 5 now. All right, excellent. So Amy, I'm ready to hear you play this scale.
No pressure. Here we go.
Mhm.
1. Whoops.
Beautiful. Are you ready to play it backwards?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is your homework assignment. Master playing this scale forward and backwards. I'm going to add something else to the homework assignment. Is every one of these notes, it has a number, it has a letter, it has a chord, and it has a scale. So can I get you to say that back to me? It has a number, a letter, a chord, and a scale. Yep, excellent. So the first thing we're going to learn, even in these last 2 minutes, we can get the numbers and the letters in. The numbers, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I want you to say and play the numbers as you're practicing this scale. And you can go back and watch the video. Will stay up on Facebook Live, so you can go back and watch it again to rehearse this. But play and say the numbers forward and backwards. So next week, when everybody comes back, I'm going to give you a chance to play in front of everyone else, and you can play and say the numbers forward and backwards. Numbers are extremely powerful. Remember I said that all these patterns are going to repeat over and over again, the whole fretboard. Everything that we learn by a number, when you hear number, I want you to think universal. When you know it by number, it universalizes it. It allows you to apply it to every key. So numbers are extremely powerful. Why? Because it makes what you're learning universally applicable. Now, what are the 4 parts for each note? A number, the next part's a letter. Letter, what's the opposite of universal? Is specific. When you make it a letter, you make it specifically applicable. Now, the universal, the idea is useless until it gets applied to a particular key. So not only do I want you to learn the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I want you to learn the letters. And because we're in the key of C, it knows it starts with C, it ends with C, and it simply just follows the alphabet up to G, and at G it goes back to A. So it's going to go like this: C, D, E, F, G. What happens after G? You go to A, back to A, B, C. And I want you to practice it, playing and saying the letters forwards and backwards. There's one last thing I want you to do. I'm going to quiz you on the frets 3, 5, 7, 9. I'm going to give you that quiz. I'm also going to quiz you on the numbers. I'm going to quiz you on the letters, but I'm also going to quiz you on this next week. I'm going to quiz you on letter for number and number for letter. So if I say 1, I want you to give me a letter, C. If I say 4, if I say a letter, F, I want you to give me a number, 4. So I want you to be able to do numbers for letters and letters for numbers. How do you work that out? It's right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So every one of them shares the same note, lives both as a number and it lives as a letter. And so next week I'll ask you, give me a letter. And if I give you a letter, you give me a number. If I give you a number, I give you a letter. And does anybody have any questions before we close up here?
I do.
What's your question?
But if you fail,
If you fail, then you're going to succeed sooner, because the path to success is definitely filled with failures. If you want to get to success sooner, double your failures. You get there faster. There's nothing better you can do than fail.
All right. So I'll just put that on my list.
Yeah. Now check this out, guys. This again, the first 4 weeks are for free. Anybody who's interested in doing this course, you can just tell them, go to the Facebook Live. They can get they didn't miss anything, so they can catch right up. They can show up next week. You can invite anybody you want to this. And then once it gets past the 4 weeks, then there'll be an option to sign up to finish the rest of the course. But any of you who are already my guitar students, you get free access to it. Any further questions?
How do you watch the video?
On Facebook. So my Facebook account is Mission 1249. So I'll send a link around to all of you so that you can get it. And then also, if you do see me on Facebook, you can also text me and ask any questions about that. Amy, did you have a question?
Yes, just a quick question about 7 is pointer finger and then 8 is middle finger. Is that correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maria, any questions? Yeah. Flynn's, any questions? Okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me for this first day of the 4-week guitar challenge. And I look forward, we'll see you next week at this exact time, and we'll pick it up from there. You can find the live feed on the Facebook Live, and more resources will be made available to you as we go along. All right, everyone?
And I'll see you too, so.
Okay, bless you. Bye-bye.